Hi there, Chris here with a fresh tip for you all. In this video, we're going to quickly look at water versus medium as far as dealing with water-based acrylic paints. And so a lot of people have often wondered which is best when painting. And realistically, it is pretty much user preference. Most of the time, when you are base coating and you're simply using any of your water-based acrylics to lay down your base coat, thinning the paint down with water is perfectly acceptable. When you start getting into other type of techniques, glazing and things like that, you might want to switch over to medium. Using a medium to thin your paint to lay your base coat down is perfectly acceptable, as well as, you know, it's just going to help thin the paint down, make it flow a lot easier on a surface. When you're laying down base coating, they're pretty much the same. There is very little noticeable difference when using regular opaque colors and thinning down with water or medium, as I will demonstrate right here really quickly. So I'll quickly lay a little bit of Cantor Blue down onto the palette here. And as you can see, it is flowing fairly normally. And in fact, I had quickly rinsed the brush off, and you can see it's actually flowing quite nicely on the surface. When I'm using a bit of water to thin it down, especially for base coating, often what I will do is I'll give the brush a quick rinse, and then just give the brush a quick kind of a snap just to knock a bit of the excess moisture out. And with that, I will thin the color down. And as you can see here, the color is a little bit thinner. And oftentimes when I'm using water to thin the color down, I will come in at the side of the little dollop of paint and mix into what is left of the paint, get to the desired consistency that way, rather than just adding like a drop of water into the paint and then mixing it all up and then, oh no, it's not where I want it. And so basically when I'm using water in this fashion, when I'm laying down base coat, or if I'm doing glazing or anything like that, where I just want the paint just a little bit thinner, and I'm not overly concerned with the opacity of it, then it's just really quickly, I'm using the paint in this fashion. So really quickly here, we will grab another dollop of paint and I will show you side by side how it looks when mixed next to a bit of medium. So we'll grab a little bit of paint, and oftentimes I will use a dropper style bottle like such for my mediums, especially with the Citadel, because it's in a paint pot. It's a lot easier to deal with rather than possibly contaminating the dropper or the paint pot style bottle that it normally comes in. Whereas with a dropper style, you can be a little bit more controlled with how much medium you're using. And as you can see, I just simply lay a little bit down right beside the dollop of paint, and then I begin mixing it into the paint, kind of like how I do with the water as well. And as you can see, it's a fairly thin consistency. And so if I was glazing or anything like that, I would simply just grab that much and then begin. And if I want to go thinner and or thicker and thicker, I should say, mixing more and more paint into this mixture, which is kind of like a 1-to-1 at the moment, and begin laying this down onto a surface. And as you can see, it flows still very nicely. It's pretty much indistinguishable from using water and medium. And basically it's, there's really no difference, especially when you're base coating. So if you're base coating, water will thin the paint down just nicely for you. You don't have to use medium. There's really no worries. It's really when you make the difference between using a medium or not, or using medium and water, is when you start getting into a bit more finesse type techniques where you're glazing, or you want a little bit more control over the paint for, detailing, lining, you're creating little fine edges, anything where you want to be a little bit more precise and you want the paint to flow a bit thinner like an ink or anything like that. I would highly recommend using mediums in that regards. But if you're just base coating and such, and you're doing a little bit of your edging and stuff like that, thinning it down with water is fine. I know that there are many artists out there who thin their colors with just water, especially when they're glazing or when they're using it for other finesse type of techniques, and that's fine. And it's really how you develop as a painter, on how you get used to the materials on hand and how you execute plan for your model. That essentially is it. Join me in the next video where I will take a quick look at the difference between water with metallics. And so a huge thank you to the patrons. Without your support, a lot of these videos would not be possible. And if you're considering patron support, a huge thank you as well. And so thank you for watching. Take care of those brushes and they'll take care of you.